Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
The Coffee Hour. That's makes it much easier to say. Well, I just ruined that.
I'm not sure.
Maybe not today. Much easier to say
Wednesday.
than the Latin name of the group that I've really been working on all morning, but I need to prep because I think we're going to teach my son Latin next year, so I really need to learn how to pronounce these words.
You'll know one word at least.
It does help that I sang in middle school and high school in lots of different languages, including Latin, so that does help. But
words are hard today.
Words are hard.
Wow.
So I'm just going to hand it over to our guests. Joining us in studio this morning, members of Laudamus, Concordia Seminary St. Louis. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, yeah. We're excited. Thanks for having us.
We have, let's go around the room and learn a little bit about you as well. Let's see, over here we have Nick, is that right?
That's correct.
Good morning, Nick. Fourth year student, is that right?
That's right, yes.
Excellent. And Nick, why did you get involved in Laudamus? What drew you into sing?
Yeah, I've always had a passion for music and for people and for Jesus. So this was a really awesome way to bring those things together and to spread the gospel and to meet new people and just have a really fun time with friends.
Very cool. John?
Yeah, so I've been singing since fourth grade in my Lutheran school in the choir there, and did it all throughout college. Went to Concordia, Nebraska, and sang with the a cappella choir and traveled with them. And my mom is an organist, and my dad sang in choir at Concordia St. Paul. So like it was just kind of, we sang at home a bunch. So yeah, I've always loved music. Wanted to be a music teacher for a while. And then decided maybe take a little bit of a different route, and then found that there was a choir at Laudamus, so joined that. So it was great.
You should have been here for National Lutheran Schools Week. We had like all things Lutheran school music.
Nice.
One day that was just fantastic.
Choirs
140.
Yeah.
140 student choir made up of 4 schools in the American country.
Wow.
We packed the chapel. It was like standing room only.
Well, we had overflow, in another room.
Right.
Geordie, tell us about you.
Yeah, so similar to John and Nick, I've been singing my entire life, Lutheran school all the way through. Went to, I did show choir and jazz choir in high school, and then at Concordia, Chicago, I was in capella, which is another Latin name that's hard to say, and everybody mispronounced that as well. But yeah.
It's true.
You're in the Capel?
The Capel,
all the time, every single time. But yeah, I love music, and I think one of the things I like to say is that music touches the heart and then translates the words to our brains, which it's just a great way that we all connect.
Speaking of translating words, have I mispronounced the name of this ensemble?
No, you nailed it. Laudamus.
There you go.
My choir teacher
Gold stars.
would be proud. Laudamus. So what is Laudamus? What does the word Laudamus mean?
Yeah, so Laudamus means we praise. So nice, neat connection for everyone listening. If you think of hymn 941, right? We praise you and acknowledge you. Te Deum Laudamus is where that kind of comes from for us. And we have a little bit of a relation in our tradition. So there's a fun little neat connection. We praise you and acknowledge you. So
you guys are going on tour soon, in a month or so? What are you going to be presenting on your tour?
So our program this year is called Thy Sweet Humility. And so it works its way from Christ's humility first in the incarnation. And we start with a hymn, See Amid the Winter Snow, which is actually where that line, Thy Sweet Humility, comes from. And we work our way right before the half is his humiliation on the cross, right? So we close with a really moving piece of Were You There? That was actually written for Laudamus a few years ago. And then in the second half, we move from the humility aspect to the exaltation aspect. So we sing, actually, we praise thee and acknowledge thee. We sing a couple of spirituals moving from the resurrection to the eschaton, right? When Christ comes back and is in full glory. And so we close with a really cool spiritual number called Ride On King Jesus. And so we get pretty into that. We've got a soloist who just belts it out and does a really good job.
That's a good tenor part, isn't it?
That is a
I'm trying to remember
spiritual.
that piece. It sounds familiar.
And he's a true bass, but he can figure it out sometimes.
Digs on the basses. It's always the basses. I married a bass, so.
You got 3 tenor ones in the studio right now, so.
Uh-oh.
I'm a baritone.
That's a problem.
What? So you're preparing for spring tour. This is coming up in March, right? March what? 14th through the 22nd. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what? Where are you headed on spring tour? Like tropical regions?
Well, every year when we go on tour, the fall tour is normally kind of closer to St. Louis, something drivable. But in the spring, we actually venture out a little further. We fly, and we're really excited this year to travel to the East Coast. We're going to start out in Boston, and then we'll move on to New York, and along the way sing at some really neat places. We're going to kick off the tour singing at Cadet Chapel at West Point, which is really exciting. And during the week, also, we'll be singing at St. Patrick's Cathedral on Fifth Avenue, which is a really awesome opportunity, a neat, different kind of concert for us that we're really excited about.
How do these tours and being able to experience different parts of the country, different churches, congregations, cultures, how do these play into your role in pastoral formation at the seminary?
So I think one of the biggest things that we get out of it is we get a week of just every day, 24/7 with 9 other of the guys that we are going out into the ministry with, right? So we're forming those bonds of going out to across the country, potentially even across the world, maybe, fingers crossed. And sharing the gospel, right? Sharing the gospel specifically through music, but also meeting people of these congregations who are supporting us, who have asked us to be there. Hearing about their life stories. Oftentimes they'll come up to us and say, "Oh, you're from wherever. I know somebody there. I went to church there," or all of those, those Lutheran connections that we all have.
Lutheran bingo.
Exactly. 6 degrees of Lutheran separation.
Which is really like half.
Yeah. And so we get those opportunities just to kind of get some of those on the ground across the country experiences, meeting people and hearing what brought them to faith.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the concerts are fun. They're so enjoyable, and there's moments that make me smile, and there's moments that bring me to tears, and it's really a great experience. But my favorite part of those days is that 15 or 20 minutes afterwards, just talking and spending time with the people, meeting them where they are, and just getting to know new people, getting to know brothers and sisters in Christ is just a joy.
What have you learned since you've been in Laudamus? All fourth-year students. This is a different musical setting or musical ensemble probably than any other you've been in before. What have you learned in this? You're nodding your head, John.
Jim is right. Jim is right. Jim is our director, Jim Marriott, and he's fantastic. He brings such an energy to the group that is really appreciated. That not only he pushes us to be better musically, but also to really deeply care about the meaning of what we're singing and how we're singing it and how it might be heard in the ears of our hearers as we go out, no matter where they're at. So I think not only from a musician's standpoint am I learning a lot, but I'm also learning, how might we go forth in ministry when we're done here at the seminary and take it into the parishes and actually really affect people and bring them closer to Christ through music and the gospel.
Sure. What is the relationship like, the bonding that you guys go through? Because as fourth-year students, you've been in this for a while. How does that bonding, the relationships that you build, how does that benefit you moving forward?
You could definitely make a sitcom out of, especially our conversations in the van and the plane and things like that. But we all do really get along well, and I think that complements kind of what we're trying to do, and we are able to produce music well because we do get along well, and we have a lot of fun. Don't fool yourselves.
I think too that it's important to have some of these bonds before we go out into the ministry at our own churches, right? That we're creating these brothers here at seminary. We're having experiences like Laudamus with them, and so when we leave seminary and when we're not surrounded by our peers, when we might be at a sole pastor or we might be an associate somewhere, but we have those ties that we can reach back out and say, "Hey, I am struggling with this. or something's happening in my church and I can't talk to people about it, but you will know what I'm talking about. It's really forging those bonds now so that we have people to talk to through the rest of our life.
Outstanding. I have more questions musically, too, but we are out of time. We have just like a half a minute left. So the spring tour, again, headed out east, headed to Boston and also to West Point, New York, all
This
wonderful
looks great.
sites. Yeah.
I want to tag along. Because choir tours are amazing.
So to our friends out east, look for Laudamus from Concordia Seminary St. Louis coming your way. csl.edu is the website, and you can find more information there as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being our guests this morning and sharing your stories, for sharing your great music as well. And we love sharing Laudamus music here on KFUO as well. So hopefully have more music to share with us. We always love adding that to our library as well. Thanks for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
It has been a lot of fun, and well, I was going to share tomorrow's topics, but oh yes, the new the mineral, fossil, and rock show with a creation foundation. So that's coming up soon in March. So we're going to share that with you here on the Coffee Hour. I'm Eddie Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit kfuo.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.